same format as before. Candidate 1 will open and do the first question first, each answer 2 minutes, the rebuttal 1 minute. I'll cue you on each of those. Jordan Jackson is candidate number 1. That's you, good. And Dustin Durbin, candidate number 2. Good, so we're going to do the opening statements first, up to 2 minutes. We'll start with you, Mr. Jackson.
Good afternoon, UNLV student body, those of you watching here, those of you watching online. My name is Jordan Jackson. I'm currently the Assistant Director under Campus Life and Entertainment. I've also worked closely with Bladen under UNLV Marketing, under one of the directorships. This year has been a long year for me, and I've worked hard to support Campus Life and Entertainment, the marketing, the other assets and directorships that follow under the CSUN Vice Presidency. I'm familiar with Katie Sears' involvement and student involvement, along with Jessica Lujan, who's done a wonderful job with Nevada Student Affairs, along with the ability of having seen creative design blanket under marketing. I hope to expand what we've done thus far with Rebel Road Trip, with the busing system, as well as marketing, providing Party in the PIDA for all our students, and greatness that will come with it. Thank you.
Mr. Durbin, 2 minutes, opening statement.
Good afternoon to everyone who's attending here live at the debate, and good evening or morning or afternoon to whoever's watching this online. I'm glad that you're getting involved and knowing truly what the issues are and who you're voting for. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Dustin Durbin. I've held the position of president of my fraternity, Alpha Epsilon Pi, and I've also been executive vice president of the Interfraternity Council. I've been very involved ever since I became a student here at UNLV, and that has allowed me to have a very rich and diverse college experience. Unfortunately, what I've seen from a lot of the students here at UNLV is a lack of involvement here on campus. As vice president, as Jordan mentioned, I would be in charge of the directors, including the directors of student involvement, campus life, marketing, creative design, and Nevada Student Affairs. Jordan mentioned a few things that we've done right, such as Rebel Road Trip, Parties in the PIDA, and things like that. But I would like to get creative and get even more students here involved on campus. I recognize the challenges that UNLV faces here as a commuter campus, and I will pick the proper directors and work with them to make sure that we can get students more involved here on campus so that everyone can have an amazing college experience and live college to the fullest.
Okay. First question. This one's going to have to do with specific plans you have for maybe special projects and how you would train, prepare the people who work with you to do those. So with this one, Mr. Jackson will go first, 2 minutes for the answer, Mr. Durbin second, and then with the rebuttal, again, Mr. Jackson and Mr. Durbin, 1 minute on those rebuttals. Here's the question. What are some of your specific plans for your team of directors and assistants should you be elected to this position? More specifically, please name any special projects that you would like to see your directors work on, as well as any ideas you have to train and prepare your directors for the year ahead. So projects and then the training and preparation. 2 minutes, please.
Well, as kind of piggybacking, that's been a common word to use, as Durbin has previously mentioned, we are a commuter school. There are certain things we cannot compete with that other schools do have. Campus life is a big issue, and it's something that should be engaging. It should encourage children, students, adults, they are reaching that age of 18 and older, to be here on campus. They should want to be on campus, and the parties in the PIDA have been very effective. What I plan on doing is encouraging these directors to be very outgoing, engaging, getting to know the students in their colleges, outside of their colleges, their peers, and working with them to find out what's most efficient for them. The parties in the PIDAs have been very efficient at meeting students, having them come out. They get the free food, they get to find a wonderful item waiting for them upon signing up, and that's something that's important to them. At the end of the day, they want something physical. They want to be able to represent their alma mater, UNLV. What I would do to train them, find out what has worked in the past. These outgoing activities where they're present, engaging in them, I would make sure happen. Having been on and a campus life and entertainment director, I would be able to talk to them about what has worked before, and we would work on things that are currently working well, the Rebel road trips, the busing systems, encouraging them to know and how to communicate with other students, such as Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, Instagram, Vine, YouTube, Dailymotion, and a variety of other websites that are not completely being used to their full advantage. Having worked with John Jersey Goldman, I understand how to be in a multitude of spots at once and be able to efficiently communicate with students, and my directors would be well trained and well versed on how to train their assistant directors. Thank you.
Okay, good. Mr. Durbin, up to 2 minutes.
See, first I'd like to focus on the second part of that question because I feel that that is the most important part. If you're not prepared to complete a task, then you're obviously not going to complete it very well. The way I'll prepare my directors is by sending them out into the field to talk to students individually. Now, you can accomplish a lot through surveys. You can find out, what food people want, what bands they'd like to see on campus, things like that. But when you're talking about campus life and student involvement, you are talking about a personal relationship with the university. And the best way to express that is in a one-on-one conversation. Now, I will have 5 directors, and I am one person, and I know that the rest of my executive board, the candidates that are running along with me, are committed to going out and speaking to students individually. Now, once we find out what the students want, I will work with my directors to figure out how to most effectively give it to them. One thing that students have already expressed to me is that they want help in purchasing textbooks. Textbooks are a very expensive part of the college experience, and people have talked about textbook reform, but the honest truth of that is that's not very likely, to reform it on a very massive scale. But what we can do is expand the university's program in the library for the textbooks reserves. It's possible that we could work on creating a website so that students can exchange textbooks among themselves, work out a trade, sell them for cheaper. Pennies on the dollar compared to what they might pay otherwise at a bookstore. Also, and the creative marketing team could help to expand that program. Now, I would like to put the fun in CSUN. The marketing team needs to show the students that it is fun to be involved on campus, it's fun to be involved on CSUN, and that we can give them the college experience that they need and want.
Okay, 1 minute rebuttal each, starting with Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. Having been an assistant director, sadly I have not seen Dustin Durbin present at any of the Party of the Pitas assisting or helping out. One issue that I would address with the textbooks, we have opened up the ability for more scholarships present to these students. I would like to educate them in the same vein as going out and speaking with the students on how they can find scholarships and grants and other assets that will help assist them in paying for these books. At no point do we ever plan or promise that UNLV will give them books, but we will do everything we can individually as a group and help them and educate them on how they can acquire their books in an efficient manner. I also plan to make sure the Party and Pitas are more spread out, that students can learn about them much earlier, quicker, and be prepared to know what will be provided for them. So that, thank you.
Mr. Durbin, 1 minute rebuttal.
Well, Mr. Jackson is correct. I have not volunteered to help out at any of the Party and the Pitas, but I have attended most of them that have happened on campus this semester and participated and watched my fellow students become engaged in CSUN. See, I'm the type of person that when I'm involved in something, I throw my whole heart and soul into it, and I've been very involved with my fraternity for the past 4 years, and that has been my priority. So when it comes to working with my fraternity, I'm there 24/7, 365. And if I were to be elected vice president, you can definitely bet your bottom dollar that I would be at every single Party in the PITA, helping out, making sure my directors were there, making sure students were in attendance, and just making sure that the events ran smoothly. As Jordan also mentioned, making sure that they were marketed ahead of time, marketed creatively, and students were excited and knew that they should come to the Party in the PITA because it will be a fun event.
Okay. The second question has to do more with management style. Now for this one, Mr. Durbin, you're going to go first, 2 minutes for your answers, 1 minute for the rebuttals. Question number 2. Directors are responsible for most of the events that CSUN hosts. As the leader of this team, it's your job to ensure that deadlines are met, that teamwork is strong, and that communication is fluid. How will you manage to ensure that all of this is accomplished? 2 minutes.
This is actually the part of the job that I believe that I hold the most expertise in. As president of my fraternity, I was responsible for managing an executive board with communications chairs, treasurers, other positions like that, and making sure that they all coalesced and worked together very well as a team, and making sure that at the end of the day, they all got their job done. I'm a delegator first and foremost, and that is exactly what the position of vice president calls for, and that is why this is a position that I feel I am very well suited for. I will make sure that my directors get along. If there are any problems within the team, if there's kink in the chain, I'm very adept at noticing those types of problems right away, and making sure people sit down and solve their issues so that we can continue to move forward as a team. As far as delegation goes, I'm on point with that. I know all the most effective ways to contact my team, whether it's speaking with them by phone. I will be in the CSUN offices for at least 25 hours a week, making sure that I'm placing phone calls, text messages, meeting with directors individually, making sure that they have all the proper tools to get their jobs done, making sure they know how to get their jobs done, and at the end of the day, if they don't get their jobs done, that's on my shoulders, and I will get the job done.
Mr. Jackson, up to 2 minutes.
Thank you. As he's been very proud to include his fraternity, I would like to mention as a member of Sigma Alpha Mu, I've held multiple positions, including social chair, as well as under an IFC position as well, a diplomat for that, as well as a few more. And a big important part of that has been communication. I've always been what you would like to call an execution man. I am able to make sure something is thought through, it's accomplished, and it's made sure that it gets done properly, efficiently. These are the things I would be able to rely and relay upon my team. Things that would come to me, things about the parties in the PIDA, anything for any one of the directorships, campus life, marketing, creative design, student affairs, as well as Nevada student affairs. These things are student involvement, I'm sorry about that. I'm able to make sure these things are accomplished. My management style is very engaging. I'm gonna look you in the eye, I'm gonna speak to you. I'm gonna treat you like a human, but I'm going to treat you as a college student. You are responsible for your actions. You will be put in charge of things properly. It will be on my shoulders, so therefore it will trickle down on your shoulders. And I will make sure if you cannot accomplish something, someone can, that we can all work together efficiently. I don't want to use the word coalesce, even though that's a great word, and I'm really glad I used it. I would like to state, I'm always going to be there to provide the answers for them, make sure everything is laid out, and it's communicated to the rest of the Senate and CSUN. That way everyone is familiar, that way everyone knows, that way everyone can properly manage while I'm in charge of it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Durbin, 1 minute rebuttal.
I don't have a rebuttal, Madam Moderator.
Okay. And Mr. Jackson, 1 minute rebuttal.
Not so much to piggyback on, I would just say that I think I'm well suited for this, as I have held multiple positions and I have served as an assistant director. So I've seen how the directors work, I've seen how assistant directors work, and I've been able to communicate with a multitude of them.
Okay, good. Question number 3. This one has to do with communication skills. So with this one, Mr. Jackson will go first, Mr. Durbin second on these. Again, we're rotating the answers and the rebuttals. Here's the question. The Vice President is not only in charge of the directors, but is also the Executive Board liaison to the Judicial Council and is one of 3 members of the Executive Board. What specifically will you do to facilitate communication between yourself and your directors, the directors and their assistants, the directors and the Senate, and the Judicial Council and the rest of CSUN? Mr. Jackson, you go first.
As I had stated before, with this online social networking bloom that we've seen in this last decade, it's actually a lot harder to get in touch with somebody these days. A lot of people forget about a phone call. A text can go out, a Twitter can go out. I'm not really sure what an Instagram is, but that can go out too. And to get in touch with people, you need to speak to them. My communication style would be very direct. I don't appear as comical as I have been known to become, but I'm loud and I'm articulate. I'm able to get my message across, and I would make sure these tweets would go out, phone calls would go out, voicemails would be left, contact via MySpace, Facebook. If you still have makeoutclub.com, I'll find you on that. If you're on online dating, I'll make sure I get in touch with you. But I understand, as Senator Gill had mentioned before, family is very important, and I understand that there are issues that come up. But one big thing that we've discussed with CSUN prior to each semester, prior to the year, you're gonna know when CSUN meets. You're gonna know that before you sign up for your classes. I won't accept excuses about participation because you weren't able to get to it during a certain time. You'll know when it is ahead of time, and that I can make sure your school schedule works. Emergencies, I'll be very, very comforting, and I understand because emergencies have popped up in all our lives. And you do have to be humane and human with these people. And you have to be there to support them because they are your peers. So my communication style, direct. Eye contact, you better expect a lot of phone calls.
Okay, Mr. Durbin, up to 2 minutes.
Thank you. I would say the first part in instilling reliable communication among the directors and all the various groups of people that they will have to communicate with is choosing directors that are reliable and that will hold themselves accountable. You need people that are not going to pick up their phones and ignore text messages. You need people who are going to respond to phone calls and who, if they're in class, they're going to call me back as soon as they get out. They will need to, and once I have the people who have those basic communication skills, I will instill in them the importance of how severe it is that they keep in contact with the Senate, with their assistant directors, with me, with the executive board. I will make sure that they know how important that is so that they can do their job effectively. My communication style as an individual is diverse. I will communicate with people however it is best to communicate them with. There are certain people who see tweets as soon as they go out because they're on their phone all day. There are people who are texting all day and will see texts as soon as they receive them. There are people who are better with phone calls, and there are people who you can't rely upon unless you're sitting there looking at them face to face. I will handle each individual as an individual and communicate with them in the most effective manner for them as an individual. And I will make sure that they take this same approach with their assistant directors, with the senators, and with everyone else that they come in contact with, because that is truly what will lead to a solid, united CSUN.
Okay, for the rebuttals, up to 1 minute, starting with Mr. Jackson.
Well, what I've seen from having been Campus Life and Entertainment Assistant Director, these fashions have not always worked. I agree with him on the idea that you have to treat people and contact them in ways they do feel comfortable with. But I would like to instill in the beginning, very quickly, that this is the most effective. They should expect phone calls. They should be prepared to be contacted through these means. I will accept other methods that they prefer, but they can always rely on a phone call. They can always rely on these other messages, and I can make sure it's relayed. That way they can't miss it in any way. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Durbin, 1 minute rebuttal.
Well, to me, the phone call is a given. If you have a major event going on that day, if you're the marketing director and we have a major marketing event that's happening on campus that day, we're going to be on the phone probably most of the morning, and you should already know that coming into the job, and I will make sure that my directors do know that coming into the semester. We will go over all of these things as soon as they're selected, and they will know the ways that I expect to communicate with them. But communication is not only about talking. Communication revolves mostly around listening. And I will listen to my directors and make sure that I am communicating with them in the ways that are best for them.
All right, good. That's it for the questions. Now it's the closing statements, up to 2 minutes each. This time we hear from Mr. Durbin first and then Mr. Jackson. Mr. Durbin, you're up.
I have a lot of passion for UNLV, and I have a lot of passion for the student body here at UNLV. I believe that everyone comes to college not to find themselves, but to create themselves. And I believe that CSUN can play a large role in helping students become the people that they want to be. Being involved on campus, exposing yourself to different on-campus events, the different types of people that you meet at those on-campus events will truly shape you into the well-rounded person the university should make you. Whether you're a commuter student or a 20-year-old like myself who lives right across the street from campus, there's something on campus that you would enjoy. That is why my team will put together very diverse programming, career-oriented programming, programming for students that have children so that they can bring their children out and make their children feel like they're part of the UNLV community as well. Programming for students that are younger and live in the dorms. What we need to do is think outside the box, be creative, talk to the students. That is the most important thing that is on my agenda, is to talk to the students and find out what the students want so that I can work with my directors, I can work with the executive board, I can work with the Senate to create different programs so that everyone will feel like they're an important part of the UNLV community.
All right, good. Mr. Jackson, up to 2 minutes.
As my fraternity Sigma Alpha Mu has taught me, as my involvement as an assistant director has taught me, you'll be present with opportunities that make you a better person. Simply being involved doesn't make you a better person, but the opportunities can make you a better person. I plan to instill these directors as strong leaders. I plan to make sure that the assistant directors have the opportunity to rise and become great senators, to potentially one day lead CSUN. My presence in CSUN has been a lot more so in this last semester. I've made sure these parties in the PIDA have ran smoothly. I have served as an assistant director, and I plan to make sure, if I am elected, that the directors underneath me, the assistant directors, are well suited and present with opportunities to make them better people for their alma mater, UNLV. The things I've accomplished already, I know I can do even great as vice president. I look forward to most of your support, and I hope and encourage you all to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it for the vice president debate.